You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and I, we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.
Hello and welcome to Split Your Head. I'm your host Bob, and today's special guest is legendary underground horror filmmaker Joe Meredith. Joe has been annihilating his growing fan base over the past decade with his incredibly fantastical and unsettling films, such as South Mill District, Teratomorph, Variant 1 and 2, Ataraxia, and most recently Harvest Brood. Joe's specific style is a perfect culmination of nostalgia, dread, and cosmic horror, containing practical effects that feel pulled from the deepest nightmares and unleashing them in these otherworldly dystopias, all coated in a morbid yet familiar haze. He's only gotten better with each film, so naturally I had to have him on and see what is cooking inside of that demented mind. Joe, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
It's great to finally be able to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you're kind of a mysterious individual that hasn't done a ton of podcasts, so I feel so honored that you're making your presence on here. And yeah, it sounds like a lot is happening with Harvest Brood. You know, it came out, was it last October?
It was, yeah.
Okay. And so from what you were telling me the other day, there's a Blu-ray currently in the works. When's the release date for that?
Hopefully by early September, I think, is like the most realistic time frame that I should be able to get it out. But it's going to be a DVD and a Blu-ray, so there'll be unique cover art for each one. And then, you know, I'm hoping to make the Blu-ray have like a few extra features and like art cards and things like that. Maybe a
amazing.
With it. Kind of a limited edition kind of thing. And then the DVD should be probably just available continuously.
Okay. Are you releasing it yourself?
Yes. I'll just be self-publishing, just like I used to before with all the others. And hopefully I'll be able to reissue some of the other ones. Like I think Teratomorph would be a good one to re-release. And of course, Variant is one that I think that probably I get asked about a lot too, seeing a reissue of that one.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about, because like your films are all, you know, between like 20 minutes to an hour, is it possible that you could just like put them all together on one, you know, Blu-ray or something? Has that ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, that would be cool. There actually has been a release like that was very limited. It was through Lucky's company. I'm trying to remember the name of his company.
Dead Vision? Is that what it's called?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Dead Vision.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they did one a couple of years ago, so that was really cool. But it was extremely limited. But yeah, I would love to. I would love to be able to do that at some point in time.
Yeah, I just feel like your films are okay. Like I always like making the comparison between filmmakers and bands, and I think to me, you're a filmmaker that really nails that, because your films all feel like the equivalents of like you've been making EPs, you know, and now like Harvest Brood is like your you know, magnum opus full-length album, you know. And so I think that's why someone getting into your work would be like, oh, I love Variant. Of course I'll love Variant 2. Of course I'll love Teratomorph. Like they're all different from one another, but they all have like the same kind of like sauce that you go to your films for, you know. Yeah, which brings me to want to talk about Harvest Brood, because like that felt like a huge step forward for you, you know, in a lot of ways. And like I was revisiting it this morning and comparing it to all your other films, like it feels like a lot more of like a slasher film. Is it something that you're kind of trying to go for necessarily?
I was, yeah. It was kind of, it was the idea of like taking the style that had been generated over time with like variant, especially the variant movies, and wanting to apply that style to um, a slasher, you know, genre, I guess, film.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But then it kind of mixes slasher with like the found footage, like mock doc. You know,
yeah.
did you feel like in order for you to kind of make a slasher work within this kind of world that you've been creating, like you kind of needed to give it that framework?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of it was based on some of the old like true crime documentaries, specifically one called Autopsy from that was on HBO back in the 90s.
Okay.
And it really focused on like the medical examiner's part of a death investigation. So it was very graphic,
Oh,
and
wow.
just yeah, the way that it was cut and the music that was used and all made it like just terrifying. So that's kind of where and I remember it as a kid being way too young, seeing it, like how terrified it made me. So
Mm.
so using that formula for Harvest Brood, I guess the idea was to make it very eerie and creepy like that, to like, you know, create that same kind of feeling that I got from seeing those way back when.
Right, right. You're kind of making me think too of something that's like sort of common with all your films that I really love, which is that like they're very disturbing and dark, but there's almost something kind of whimsical about them too. And I think that connects with what you're saying about how like you're trying to recreate the feeling of seeing this kind of film when you're a kid, you know? Because like that's sort of what a lot of horror films for kids are like, is like they all have
Yeah.
this sort of like fantastical feeling, like otherworldly, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, like that's the origin of all of it. Like it's sort of like the danger of it, you know. There's like
Mm.
yeah, there's something dangerous about like, or as a kid seeing like the Faces of Death covers on and then
Oh,
the video store, you know, like banned in 46 countries or whatever it says, and the cover art and all, and just like sort of the myth surrounding the movie without having seen any of them. um and it's, you know, just that kind of like, I guess, danger of it, you know.
yeah. But your imagination too, because like as you said, you'd see the covers, but you weren't able to see the films necessarily. Or were you like, did you watch those when you were a kid?
I probably saw Faces of Death for the first time when I was like a teenager, but I would
Sure.
see them very young. And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, to the point, you know, like um, that would be a big thing. Like very young, of course, my parents didn't necessarily let me rent the movies, but you know,
Mm.
seeing a lot of the cover designs, I would just go by that and just imagine, you know, what the movie would be.
Yeah.
So that would be like my first experience with horror films, you know. And then finally
Mm.
getting to watch them, of course, was a thrill, you know.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting to me, because like I think that instilled like such a strong imagination in you, and that's something like, again, as I was saying, like that's something I see in a lot of your films, is like how much imagination plays a big part. You know, it's like they are very much these disturbing dark films, but there's like mutants and creatures and like robots and like alien outbreaks and stuff, you know. It's like, to me, it's, you can really feel that like it's been growing since you were a kid, that you'd
Yeah.
eventually be like creating these worlds, you know.
Yeah. The very first horror film I think that I saw was Halloween 2,
Oh,
and
okay.
like the original, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, if you've seen, I know you've seen it. The VHS cover typically was the pumpkin, the screaming skull pumpkin,
Yeah, that was
you
sick.
know. And it's weird to say that I was very disappointed when I saw the movie that there wasn't a screaming pumpkin skull creature,
Totally.
you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so yeah, I've just been like chasing that ever since, I think.
Oh my God. I love that. That's so cool. Yeah, I totally know what you mean. Like, I think as a kid, I would have had the same reaction of being like, oh my God, I need to see this movie. There's like a screaming pumpkin
Yeah,
skull head
yeah,
dude. And then there wasn't, you know?
right. I mean, that's one of my favorite like VHS cover designs probably ever, and
Sure.
as well as Halloween 3 also had a good one too. That one, I remember that one being very mysterious, and uh,
Mm,
that if you see the orange, like the orange skyline and the silhouetted trick or treaters, that's a good,
yeah.
that's a poignant image.
Yeah. It's so it sounds in a way like art design is kind of a really big maybe even a big part of like how you create the films that you're creating, you know? Is that fair to say?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love designing, creatures especially. So drawing
Mm,
and painting is like a big hobby of mine.
cool.
So I think that's always been it's always been kind of an extension of that. Um, and of course, making a movie is such a multimedia um, investment as far as you know. Every kind of art is kind of is needed to uh, create a movie. Obviously. And over the years, I've gotten better at sculpting and casting and
Mm.
molding and stuff. So that's really fun to do.
Yeah, and you do the music as well in a lot of your films, right?
A lot of times, yeah. The
Okay.
last Harvest Brood, I did score all of that one. Um, but I have some friends too who will help out with scores. Um, I think Harvest Brood might be the only one that I scored like exclusively myself.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So for your films, then, I mean, do you like sketch kind of the ideas of like the creatures first? Is that kind of the first seed in a way?
So, I mean, I would say like the first part of the process always for me is the habit is to like go out and find an establishing atmosphere or
Mm.
a setting. Like Harvest Brood is a very good example. A lot of those shots at the beginning that have the very autumnal tones and the orange sky and everything. A lot of that was shot like 2 years before Harvest Brew.
Oh.
Most of Harvest Brew was shot. So it was like because I knew that I was going to do something Halloween oriented, or the Halloween slasher was in the cards.
Mm.
But I needed to like first get all of those establishing sort of B-roll shots to kind of integrate into and or build the world within those settings. And
Mm.
so that's always usually like even in some cases that I don't know what I'm gonna do, that kind of going out and exploring and just getting footage of environments
Yeah.
is usually the first step.
So when you go to these locations, then is it like creating that footage? Is that what kind of will lead to you having the next idea? Like say like the characters will come out of that or the situations.
Yeah, it can. It's very informative to do
Yeah.
that. It's scouting kind of also.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah.
somehow sometimes that's how I find locations that'll also be then used later for more of a principal photography event with actors and all. So that's always nice. And yeah, and that too is why I don't typically work with a traditional style script. It's
Mm.
usually like kind of an outline,
Right.
um, because there's so many occasions where it's like then we're going out and then we have a specific thing in mind that we're going to shoot, and then something about the location doesn't work, or something about whatever doesn't work, and then it's kind of always changing and morphing like as it's going,
Mm.
or we
Yeah.
find a whole new environment altogether.
Right, 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 right. No, I like that, and I mean, I don't think that's really all that uncommon. Like I'm sure you know Brian Pollan, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I've talked to him, and he doesn't usually use a script, you know. And there's a lot of directors that don't necessarily go off of it, and that's something that I find really fascinating because it really like it allows you to not be forced to do certain things and kind of like, as you say, like morph the idea of the film as you go, and it becomes like even more of this organic growing thing, you know. What kind of outline do you work with then necessarily? Like, do you just have like a 2-page kind of summary of the plot or something?
Yeah, it is kind of like that. It's pretty fragmented.
Okay.
Um, so obviously if there's specific lines that you know I want said, which there's usually not a lot of dialogue anyway,
Hmm.
or just very specific kind of a effect that I'm going for, then you know obviously I'll detail that portion of it out. But for the most part, it's just kind of like, this is what we're going to do. You know, we're going to go to this location and then just kind of wing it. You know.
Okay. But it's also because you have such a strong intuition about, like as you said, like the location, the makeup and effects, like the overall kind of like art design and everything. Like that's sort of a stronger element in a way, which I think, you know, I think to some people that might be hard to wrap their heads around. Like, why isn't the story the big deal? But it's like you're really trying to create such an all-encompassing experience, you know?
I mean, I would like to make something where the story is a little bit more succinct, I guess. You know, for a general audience, I guess you can say. But yeah, the visual atmosphere and the intent on the atmosphere is really important.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I guess that's just happens to be what I'm most interested in, is the visual dynamic of it more so.
Right. Right. It's paying off, you know? And I think like I was looking at the numbers of what you have up on YouTube, and like Harvest Brood has like something like 27,000 views, you know, compared to like your older films. So it seems like you're gaining more and more fans and everything, and more notoriety with each film. So like clearly you're on the right path, you know? It just it does seem like Harvest Brood, and I feel like this is kind of a dirty word, but like is kind of more accessible in a lot of ways compared to the earlier stuff.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. Yeah, it is fair. The others may be a little bit more abstract, you know, and much more sci-fi kind of oriented,
True.
I guess. Which Harvest Brood does have those elements in it, too.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because, like, one of the questions I wrote down that I sent you beforehand was asking about, like, whether you would do something completely away from mutants or supernatural or sci-fi. But rewatching Harvest Brood, it feels kind of like you are inching towards that already.
You know, yeah. I mean, I guess maybe I've thought of that, but yeah, I don't know. That's actually that's difficult. And yeah, when you sent me that, I had to I had stewed on that for a little bit, and it would be interesting to come across that idea, but I don't know what that would be.
Well, it would be dependent on going to, as you say, like going to a setting and then just thinking, okay, like maybe there's gore and there's horror, but it won't be anything that is like otherworldly in a way. It'll be very much like based in reality, you know?
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of hard to do in a lot of ways, especially since like you've really like let your imagination fly with each film, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you know, and like you were saying with the exploring, I mean, I guess that's like one of the places my head goes. I'm sure a lot of people think this way, like, you know, you see some abandoned building or house or whatever, and obviously you can think about what went on in there. Maybe it's about just a family or something, but then I don't know. My imagination, I guess, will go wild into like something that's like creeping in the crawl spaces or something, I guess, of some place, you know.
Well, no, I know what you mean, because like if something's sort of like creeping in the shadows, is that necessarily going to be a human, you know?
Right.
You know, it's like kind of hard to picture something that is human, like completely human, and that's what is the element in a way, you know? But I do think that Harvest Brood approaches that, like it gets very close at times, especially with the gore. Like there's a lot, like I think all the gore scenes in it are pretty much more based on just like human getting killed in almost a way that well, it is in a way that like a human would kill the other human, as opposed to like an alien ripping someone apart or like a creature coming out of someone's body. They are based on like true crime kind of imagery.
Yeah, it was, and it was kind of meant to start out, which as it does, as a more grounded, realistic kind of story, true crime type of story. Okay. And then obviously as it develops, it becomes more and more mutated, which I thought was kind of a fun thing because, like I would imagine that most people who have seen any of my stuff are going to immediately expect, the alien mutant stuff right off the bat. So then the Harvest Brood starting it that way, I guess, felt like some form of trickery, but it was like, then no, it's about to become mutated.
Yeah. There's another recent film that's kind of like that. Do you know I Don't Like It Here by Robbie Smith?
I don't. I haven't heard of that one.
So I just interviewed him, I think it was like, at this point it would be like a couple months back, but his new film that's on Screenbox is, I think I even wrote in my review on Letterboxd, like would be a perfect double feature with yours. But his starts out in a way where it's like the first 20 minutes feel kind of almost like a very stripped back, like horror drama. And then 20 minutes in, it turns into a true crime mockumentary. And then there's elements of like these kind of killers that seem a little bit not from this world. Although he doesn't go nearly as far with it as you do, but yeah, highly recommend you check that out. I think it would kind of tickle some of the same things that you were going for with this one, But I love that kind of thing. I love when there's something like clearly in the water going on, like people are all kind of like not ripping each other off. But again, it's like, as I was saying earlier about like comparing filmmakers to bands. It's like, like two like thrash metal bands popping up at the same time or something in the early 80s. You know what I mean? Like something sort of magical going on in that way.
Yeah. No, I will definitely check that out. That does sound interesting.
Yeah, it would definitely be up your alley. So, but yeah, so with Harvest Brood, it's been out for almost a year. It's coming out soon on Blu-ray. Has there been any interest then? Like, I think I was writing this in a question that I sent to you, but have you had any interest from like studios or anything, or like people that are kind of wanting to bring you money to do a project with them? Like, has those kind of opportunities popped up at all?
Not really. I mean, I've talked to a few people, but nothing really substantial. With that so far, but like ever since I started mainly publishing projects on YouTube, the audience has grown and there's been word of mouth, and so it is nice, like kind of broadening the audience and all. So maybe someday something like that can happen.
Yeah, well, as we were talking about earlier, like Harvest Brood feels like it's going in a more accessible direction. So I'm sure you must have seen kind of a bit more of an uptick in like, people like interest overall and everything. I guess I almost wonder if it would inspire you to do the next film and go in an even further accessible direction. Like, has that kind of been on your mind at all?
I mean, I think that
you can say no. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I would say that what I've been kind of starting on lately is probably even, it might be the most heavily creature film out of all of them potentially. Cool. I don't know if that's necessarily the one that I'm gonna end up doing, at least right off the bat. But I I don't really. That's hard to say. It's hard to say
Okay.
as far as the accessibility, but I do understand Harvest Brood, um, being more accessible, and it has played a number of venues, um, and it's been streamed and all of that. So, yeah, it has sort of broadened the audience, I guess.
Right, right. Okay, so the next project, you're saying you're gonna have a ton of creatures. If this is the one you go forward with, that might not necessarily mean that it's not gonna be as accessible. I think it's a matter of like what you do with it, right? I mean,
Right.
people love this stuff. I think that there is like we underestimate how much people really love practical effects, and I'm sure so many of your fans are kind of the people that would be into this stuff. But yeah, I feel like you could do so much with that, like having, like, I'm kind of, what it's making me think of is Nightbreed.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Am I kind of in the right direction of like what your idea is?
Well, I mean, part of that is with each movie, I guess I find myself like learning new tricks on how to create creatures, and then, applying like sculpting and all, and just more detailed creatures, I guess you can say, more intricate looking creatures. Like with each project, to just get more and more confident with it.
Cool.
And so this is kind of like an expansion of the movie Ataraxia, which is like
nice.
one of the shortest ones. So it's more of a, potential, probably Harvest Brood length, if not longer, possibly, like expansion of the world that was created in Ataraxia. So, so if you can kind of imagine the creatures in that, but with far more detail and just, more intricate, like puppetry and things like that.
Sick. Yeah. So like I watched a bunch of your movies all this week. So am I correct in thinking that Ataraxia is maybe the most sci-fi?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I would want to say
cosmic or something, maybe.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, cosmic is sort of the best way to put it, because I find like the difference between cosmic and sci-fi is that cosmic has less explanations behind it, whereas sci-fi has very like rigid explanations behind like what these creatures are. Cosmic has more of that mystery, right?
Yeah, I guess it would be, if the variant movies are the Resident Evil to Ataraxia's Silent Hill in a way.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Now I'm getting the formula down. Yeah. Okay. Huh? Because yeah, Ataraxia was like the most like direct video game inspired in a way, like in terms of like walkthroughs. Like it feels like a walkthrough in a lot of parts. You know? Yeah. Okay. So then your full length idea, would it continue in that vein?
Yeah, it would. It would have both elements of more of a movie, I guess you can say, and then also a found footage first person style. So again, I don't really know for sure if that's the one that I'm going for. I know with Harvest Brood, one thing with that is that it was thought to be kind of jarring, the sort of juxtaposition between the true crime documentary and the they weren't really meant to be reenactments, but just the more general style of a slasher movie, the way it goes back and forth. So that I don't know if that's really the right formula to go with, to have that kind of back and forth. But I'm gonna the first thing to do, I guess, is really just experiment with it and to see how it works. Like I've already shot some things for it. Like I said, the establishing kind of atmosphere and all. But to actually see some of these creatures in action, would be an eye opener as to whether or not it's going to work.
I see what you're saying. Like doing some test footage, basically.
Right.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you were saying about Harvest Brood as you say, being jarring. And is that something that you felt, or is that something that was like feedback given to you?
That was more feedback.
Okay. Okay.
I think that was one of those whimsical ideas, just to frame it that way.
Yeah. Because I actually, I found it wasn't jarring per se. It just took me when I watched it like a minute to go, wait a second.
Right.
Oh, okay, it's not following it to a T. But I also think we're maybe moving away from that in a lot of ways. Like found footage horror has become such a prominent subgenre. Like it's really gotten a lot of legs over the past couple decades. So I kind of feel like people are more open to just letting, like, don't worry about the framework so much. It's more of an aesthetic. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't want that to deter you, because I actually feel like that would be pretty sick. Like imagining the idea you're talking about as being kind of like going back and forth, you know? But you could even use like the walkthrough kind of idea for the non-found foot, or wait, that would be the found footage, it would be the walkthrough stuff.
It's a little bit like, I was trying to think of a good example, but almost like in Return of the Living Dead, when you've got the punks and the medical supply and everything's set place, and then it goes to the military guy,
Okay.
and he's in a different time zone, and they're monitoring the situation, and then kind of something like that, where there is like this sort of like military command center, I guess you can say, that's
Sure.
monitoring the impact zone.
Yeah.
And then when it and that would also be shot with a completely different type of camera. And then when it goes into the found footage mode in the impact zone, then I don't really know if I'm going to use VHS for that. Like I said, that's going to be something to test, because I might use something that's more of one of those earlier kind of digital style cameras, like that kind of almost has the earlier YouTube quality, but it'll remains to kind of be seen what that will look like.
That's DV? Is that what it is?
Well, like actually, what a lot of the stuff, the main story portion, I guess you can say, will be shot on mini DV, because that's what I've been using.
Okay.
And then, but this is more like I don't know, almost shot on like one of those like little flip cameras or something like that. Like something that would be something that is more practical of being attached to someone, out in a war, or not a war zone, but some kind of contaminated area like that.
Okay, so here's the question: the military base, and then you've got the outside world. Those are going to be two kind of like parts of the film. Is the military base going to be kind of like surveying the outside world, like they're going to see it on their screens? Like they're going to have like screen. Okay, I can picture this now. And so then the outside world, is the outside world going to be directly outside of the military base? Like almost like a siege in a way, like it's slowly coming in on them.
Yeah, so it is kind of like where the impact zone in Ataraxia is, I know a lot of people say it's kind of it is post-apocalyptic, in certain ways, but it's really supposed to be contained within a certain area, and then everywhere outside of it is still, life as you know it.
Okay.
So it is kind of just a very contained area that they would be, monitoring what's happening inside of it.
Okay. So if this is in the same world as Ataraxia, are we looking forward into the future where the contained area has now grown?
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm still not certain with too, because I'm thinking about it not even really being a sequel. I've kind of been calling it a sequel, but it might be more of it's not really a remake too at the same time. Like I might even set it in a different time altogether, which Ataraxia doesn't really state what I don't know that there's a point where it says like what year it takes place in.
Okay.
Maybe it does, but I think I might even set it like farther back in the past.
Ah, okay. Huh. Any reason why you don't want them to be that closely linked together?
I just yeah, I think it's just kind of like I really liked the world in Ataraxia, and it was fun to play around in that. And just some of the ideas that I have for this, I guess I'm just kind of in love with. And that movie was almost really like an experiment on its own.
Sure.
So, I was kind of largely by myself with that one. It was just kind of almost just messing around.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, and it came together the way it came together, which was awesome. So this is just a much more intentional, foray into that realm.
Yeah, the way you're describing it almost sounds like Ataraxia is the test footage for this project.
In a way. In a way. But yeah, that one was very whimsical. Like that one was just kind of like almost just playing around pretty much.
Right.
So
Right.
I was gonna keep just adding to it over time, and because I kind of started Harvest Brood simultaneously, and that was really the main project that I wanted to be focused on.
Yeah.
But then it was like Ataraxia just kind of felt finished for what it was, and I was like, okay, I might as well just put it out.
Cool. No, that's a good idea. Do you feel at all like the world you were creating with Harvest Brood is something you'd want to return to?
Yeah, there is an idea for that too. That would be, I am kind of like, that's the battle between the two ideas. Would be the Harvest Brood 2, and then the Ataraxia remake-ish.
Yeah. Ataraxia, like the full sequence or something.
Hey, that sounds pretty cool.
There you go. You can have it. Yeah, so you're trying to decide between Ataraxia, the full sequence, and Harvest Brood 2 as your next project to work on.
Yeah. I mean, there's other ideas too, but I would say so far the one that has had the most work put into it is the Ataraxia project so far.
Right.
So I think one way or the other, that will be a finished film somewhere down the line, because there is a fair amount of substance. I haven't quite reached the point of no return yet with that.
Okay.
Which that's like, once you reach the point of no return, it's like, yeah, you're making the movie, and it's just like, full speed ahead.
Yeah. Wait, okay, I'm curious about this point of no return. What do you mean by that exactly? Like, what is that for you? When you're making a film, the point of no return.
Yeah, it was like I was saying about getting the atmosphere, getting the setting, and figuring out how to, integrate that into the world. And this is all before getting actors and doing, prepping effects, gags, and everything. I mean, once a scene or two is shot with actors, especially if it's a significant scene in some way. I mean, I usually that's the point of no return. Like, it's like I'm not going to then just kind of throw this footage away.
Right.
The worst example of that I've experienced was pretty much what happened with Variant 2, which is where I was shooting a completely different movie, which was called The Pell Strain, and that was where the clown plot plays into it.
Oh, okay.
So it was going to be a movie exclusively with clown creatures, and that was, and the chainsaw character and all was going to be that, which actually that character, by the way, is supposed to be the same character from South Mill District.
Right.
But,
okay.
So, kind of the idea just started falling apart, but I had already shot, there's more that was shot for that, including like death sequences and clowns like eating people and stuff.
Oh no.
But I think only 1 or 2 clowns made it into it. but it just wasn't going anywhere. It just wasn't turning out very well. So
Okay.
I kind of then like randomly started a variant 2. I think it was because I got my hands on a VHS-C camera.
Okay.
And so I wanted to try that. So like I repainted the set into an autopsy room, and the opening of variant 2 was then shot. And then I was like, this is actually like a lot more fun than what I've been doing with the clown movie. So that was where the decision made to, how about I just make it like an anthology thing where the clowns are just one of the mutations going on within the world of variant 2. And then that's how that kind of worked. So wow. I used, I think, the best footage from the Pell strain for that.
That's really cool, because I remember watching variant 2 and thinking like, this has so many wild ideas thrown in. I really love that about it. It was like a buffet of crazy ideas. So I'm wondering then, was the other sequences also ideas that were taken from something that was supposed to be like more of a project onto itself?
No, it really started with just variant 2 was like the pink oozing zombie creatures. And then the clown thing was the separate project. So
right.
It then pretty much became, the rest of the ideas were then used for that episodic purpose of structuring the movie like that.
Yeah. Am I wrong in thinking that variant 2 is also your funniest film?
I would say that it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, certainly with the brain fucker scene,
Right. Yeah. That was wild. That was amazing. It kind of brought me back to like the 90s, like growing up and seeing like crazy music videos and stuff, like it just had such a perfectly nostalgic kind of idea of like what an LSD trip is like,
Yeah. I kind of did have MTV in mind a lot. Like I grew up, seeing MTV, like the 10 spot, it was like Beavis and Butthead, Daria, Celebrity Deathmatch, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that was kind of in my head, that felt like the direction of just the way it was cut together and everything.
Yeah, it definitely brought to mind, because as you said, Beavis and Butthead, like Beavis and Butthead Do America, there's that scene in the desert with a like Rob Zombie song and stuff. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Also kind of made me think a little bit of some of the sequences in, do you know this movie Freaked?
Freaked.
It's like a 90s comedy with like a lot of crazy creatures and stuff. I think it was directed and written by Alex Winter, who is Bill in Bill and Ted.
Okay. Well, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, definitely check that out, because in terms of like the practical effects and like wacky sequences and stuff, like it will blow your mind.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I will definitely look that up.
Yeah. So I guess with variant 2, then you're kind of like pouring in all these different ideas, maybe even like comedic elements that you weren't really able to put into your other films, because like your films all have like such a heavy tone to them, Is that something that you could see yourself like diving into again, is like adding in comedy?
It's funny you say, because ironically, the original variant, which I guess you could argue is probably densely like dark in its overall tone, but we were kind of trying to go for comedic elements for that. Okay. And which I know that's kind of subjective, because there could be people watching any scene of that and find it funny, like the zombies coming out of the graves or something. But we actually tried to shoot a explosive diarrhea creature scene in the first variant. Yeah, like that was one of the main character's first symptoms, and it just it didn't really fit the tone of that movie. Okay. So it ended up working out really well with variant 2.
Okay, cool. It's cool that variant two, like as I'm learning, and the listeners will be learning or watchers, that variant two is sort of like the and I mean this all due respect, almost like the B-sides project of like all the songs that couldn't fit on the other albums went on to here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That is pretty much exactly what it is. And I mean to say, and regarding the thing about exploring comedy again, I mean, yeah, I would love to do that. I do have there's one other that would be interesting to do. That would be a zombie movie that would be kind of has like a lot more comedic elements in the same vein as like a Return of the Living Dead.
So yeah, as you're talking about Return of the Living Dead, and you're mentioning earlier some of like the video covers that you'd see as a kid. What are, maybe some influences for you on your films that like people wouldn't necessarily expect? Like, I don't know, maybe things that aren't, your typical like 80s horror movies or splatter films. Like, has there been anything else that would kind of surprise one of your fans to learn?
Yeah, it's difficult to say. I guess for like every horror fan, we kind of start out. It's almost like an iceberg, where we start out with just like the above the surface level Halloweens and Friday the 13th variety, and then you start to learn more about the genre, and you start to find out all these more extreme forms, and then you just keep on diving deeper into it. So I kind of I'm always finding something new that's like influential or let's see, I would say one I always have in mind is Alien 3. For some reason that one is like that's like that one tonally is one I always think of. It's also got to me like one of the greatest scores of a movie by Elliot Goldenthal. So I find myself listening to that score pretty often, like when just when writing stuff or whatever, when thinking about scenes, I will apply that score a lot, so
cool.
I'll revisit that one often,
Yeah. I've never seen that one, but I've heard, the stories about it and how, like, I think there's a lot of studio interference, and there's now you can see the full director's cut that really changes the whole intention of the film. Is that right? Or
Yeah, it was. My understanding of the production of that is that it was, a complete shit show. And I think David Fincher directed it. And I think that was his first studio film. And I think he's even disowned it. Like, he won't even talk about it. But yeah, you have to check it out. And yeah, that one, I don't know. Every single movie that I've done, I feel like I can see a little bit of Alien 3 DNA in every one of them,
Interesting. Okay. I would have never thought that, but now, like, you've now effectively sold me on seeing Alien 3 because I love your movies, so I want to see that connection, That's really cool.
Oh yeah. It's a good movie. I think you'll enjoy it.
Sweet. Have you kind of dipped into like, splatter films from around the world at all, like outside of the United States?
I have, yeah. I mean, I've seen a number of the French, the French, what's the word for it? Like murder drone movies. And then,
okay.
Then there's the German movies too. Like,
Olaf Ittenbach.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Olaf. And, the one that I know that kind of like Harvest Brew definitely got some from was I believe it's actually, I think it's a French movie. It's like Mad Mutilator or Olgroff.
Oh yeah,
It's kind of like it ends up being where the killer kind of becomes like the hero at the end, I believe. I think there's a scene where he's like chasing somebody on a motorcycle. But that one has really cool. And then by the end of it, it's like it starts out as a slasher movie, and then by the end it becomes a zombie movie. and then somehow they even throw in a vampire
Right.
by the end. That's a fun one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that I now that you mention it, I can see the connections because there is sort of just like it's almost like approaching filmmaking in a way that is just let's make this as entertaining as possible, you know?
Yeah. My understanding of the story with a lot of those filmmakers from back then was that because of the country's banning a lot of horror movies. If they weren't banned altogether, then they were heavily
Mm.
edited and or censored. And so those guys, with the onset of VHS technology, they were, it was pretty much like that. They were like, well,
Mm.
we'll make our own absurd horror movies, and that's where you get a lot of like the more extreme, absurd levels of violence in those movies because it was something that was so heavily censored at that time.
Yeah, that makes me think about what you were saying as a kid, like seeing Faces of Death, the cover as a kid, and seeing it and not being able to watch the movie, but what it made your mind come up with, you know? And it's like these
Yeah.
people in these countries where they can't access these films because they're banned. Their mind is just conjuring up this like they're imagining these really crazy films that they go ahead and make.
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, I'm sure, where um, you do get a lot of with a lot of those movies, you do uh, get a lot of like very rich material out of it.
Totally, totally. It feels like you've been kind of mentioning going like into more extreme directions with films. Like, are you someone that tries to find, you know, like the most disturbing film or the most extreme film? Like, have you had those periods at all of being like a horror fan?
Um, yeah, I mean, certainly when I was younger, it was like, I was probably
Mm,
like 15 years old when I first learned that there was such a thing as a cannibal holocaust. And
right.
then
Yeah.
I think at that time, Grindhouse hadn't even officially released it, so it was like, getting my hands on Cannibal Holocaust was like this almost holy grail, kind of movie to get my hands on. And finally, I found a guy who had a bootleg. Um,
mm,
so yeah, I certainly dipped into that. I don't know that I have been too much of one to seek out a movie specifically for the extreme violent nature of it.
okay.
Probably with the exception of that one,
Right.
and
Right.
some others.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, your films do kind of they walk a fine line in a way. I think if you didn't have so much of like the creatures and the mutants, they would feel like they're starting to push a little bit towards like more disturbing and edgier kind of territory. Um, but it's interesting because you are on one of the Symbolicuses. I think the first one, right? The volume one.
Yes.
Okay, cool, cool. How did you get involved with that?
Um, I mean, I've met Marcus and Jesse and hung out with them before, and they were talking about doing that project and just bringing a number of filmmakers on to do segments, and yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'm totally on board.
Yeah, because a lot of those filmmakers seem to be kind of more on the extreme end of things, you know. So
And my wife's actually one of them on
right, right. Which one is hers?
there. I believe it was the upside down cross. I think is the symbol that she did.
Oh,
It's got
okay.
like it's got
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
the witch's covenant. It's very music
Oh,
video.
cool, cool.
Uh, yeah, she did a good job with
Sweet.
that.
Nice. So, is your wife like a regular filmmaker like you are? Like, has she, made a lot of films and similarly to you?
I think that was her first time directing something. But I mean, yeah, she helps me out a lot. She's
Mm,
instrumental, and we a lot of times when we go out scouting, looking for those settings, she's with me a lot of the time. So yeah,
cool.
she's just instrumental in you know everything.
Well, I have noticed she's been in all of your films and everything, and that's really great that you've found someone that kind of shares your passion and creativity for filmmaking. So, does she have any interest in like making her own films though, like outside of the Symbolicus film?
Yeah, I think so. I think that she does at some point. She's talked about it before.
Maybe you should let her direct one of your upcoming ideas.
That would be an interesting experiment for sure.
Yeah. At least the test footage you could try out, like see what she kind of wants to bring out of it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that would be fun. Yeah, we're all just like friends. I mean, I don't. It would be cool to hire actors at some point to bring them in. But yeah, we're all just like pretty much everyone involved in all of the projects. We're all kind of like a friend group.
Right, because I noticed like Anthony Leroy is in Harvest Brood, and he's also a filmmaker, that you've gotten in touch with. Have you had other filmmakers kind of reach out that have said like, hey, I don't live in the same area as you, but I want to get involved?
Yeah, so yeah, that is an exception there with where Anthony obviously shot that somewhere else. I wasn't present with him, and he nailed that, by the way. But I've also had, I think in variant 2, there's like a voice appearance by Alex Wesley. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a Russian filmmaker. No. He did a movie called Demon Mind. I think that's probably the one that he's known for the most. But he's made some really really cool stuff. But the character in the opening of variant 2 is speaking Russian, so that's him doing the voice. And then of course I've had another recurring cast member is Toby Johansson, who played the scientist guy in the first 3 movies, and he was the professor of the folklore professor in Harvest Brood just recently. And he's also a filmmaker. He's got a movie called Hacksaw: Documentary of a Psycho Killer, and he's been working on one for a while that should be out pretty soon. I think a new one.
Oh, cool. Do you know what it's called?
It's called Slaughter Horse, I believe. Yeah.
Horse like an animal horse.
Yes. Yeah.
Slaughter.
I don't know the exact plot, but I guess it is a guy who has a horse mask. That is I guess a slasher or something of that nature. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'll have to look them up. So Harvest Brood is coming out on Blu-ray September. Where would people be able to get that then?
I should have it on my store, but I might be changing the store, so it's not. I guess that's something that could be added in later. Like I'll send you a link.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Because it might be a different. I have a web store currently, but I might be going a different route altogether with that. So I just haven't crossed that bridge yet. Yeah,
just let me know. Send me all the links. I'll have it in the show description and everything, and people will be able to find out where they can buy your films. And as you said, hopefully you're going to have represses of all your earlier films, so people can get their hands on all of them. And I'll have links to as well to the films that are available on YouTube. Oh, that reminds me, which I just out of curiosity, because I noticed on YouTube you have South Middle District, Teratomorph, and Variant 2 and Harvest Brood, but you don't have Variant 1, and I feel like I'm missing something else. Oh, sorry, Ataraxia is on there. You don't have Variant 1 on there to watch. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I mean, that one has, of course, the scene that is virtually X-rated, and
gotcha.
I believe that I did try to upload it on YouTube, and it immediately took it down, but not for that reason. Strangely, it was actually because of there's a scene where, if you remember, the bum gets destroyed by the zombies, and then it kind of cuts to the next morning, just his like ravaged body parts all over, and there's ants crawling all over it and everything. It flagged it for that. I guess its AI kind of caught that immediately, so it didn't quite get to the X-rated scene. But if it wasn't then it probably would have been the X-rated scene, of course. It is available on a few places. There's one called Dolpho.tv. It's a really new platform that they're trying to take off with, and Variant is on that. And it's also on, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it correctly. I want to say Cabana Sing. It's like I think it's a French Canadian service that's you can just go to their website and stream movies for free.
Okay.
I think they have some of Anthony's work on there, but Variant is on that too.
Okay, Caban en Sang. Yeah, I've definitely heard of that festival. So I didn't know they had a streaming service. That's really cool.
They do, yeah.
All right, Joe. Well, we're coming to an hour, so I figure we can hit the questionnaire, and I'll let you get on your way. What is one item you can't live without?
I guess I hate to say cigarettes. Unfortunately, I do have that habit.
I've had someone else say a vape before, so I feel like it's kind of along the same lines. But you're analog like that, so yeah.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah. What was the last great movie you saw in theaters?
Last great movie I saw in theaters. What would be the best one I saw? Most of them have all been.
You can name a few if you want.
Yeah, most of them have been garbage for a while. I've been stung by them pretty badly. Well, actually, you know what? I did see whenever Alien was re-released a couple of years ago. I went to see that re-release, and that was really awesome. That was like, I've seen the movie 1,000 times, but that one, seeing it like that, was like seeing it for the first time.
I can imagine, yeah. I've just seen the 4K of it at a friend's place so far, and that was amazing. Really made the set design stand out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The whole production design of that movie is incredible. That one stuck to me for a while, a week or so after seeing it. I was, just thinking about it a lot.
What was the last great concert you went to?
Concert, I saw Marilyn Manson in Nashville just a couple of months ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Who is he playing with?
Marilyn Manson?
Yeah.
I think he was the headliner. I'm not even sure that I saw the opening act on that one.
Oh, okay. Fair. Sometimes I find acts like that will bring interesting openers, but
yeah, I think it was just a headlining thing. The opener was probably maybe one of the more local type groups, but I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay. Oh, fair enough. Fair. What was the last great book you read?
I have actually not read. The last book I read was for the very first time the Amityville Horror.
Okay.
Which that was really good. That's a really creepy, eerie book, and I've seen all the films and everything, but I've always loved to read, but I just find myself unfortunately not having as much time to read as I once did. But that is the last book that I did read, like in the over the winter time.
Cool. What's your favorite Amityville movie?
I'm gonna say the second one.
Okay. Yeah.
Where they bring, where they bring in the kind of the exorcism. It's I guess it's like more loosely based on the actual mass murder that occurred, and then they bring in the whole exorcism angle.
Yeah.
That one's always been really good to me.
Yeah.
I think I've seen all of them.
I haven't seen all of them. Yeah, I've seen like maybe 7 or 8 of them. I really like Amityville 1992.
Is that the one with the clock?
Yes.
The whole house is different too, right? It's like almost like a modernist, brutalist style. Yeah, I do. I have seen that one before. Yeah,
that one's good.
Have you seen the documentary called My Amityville Horror, where it's the interview? No. I'm trying to think. The boy's name was Danny, I believe. And he was the adopted son of Lutz, whatever the man's name. And so he was the boy in the story, and then I think he had 2 sisters. But anyway, he's grown now, and it's an interview with him, and he's swearing by all of these things that the book claims, which it's they also go see Lorraine Warren, and they talk to like people who were relevant to the whole investigation of that, And it's
Okay.
pretty interesting. He really does sound very convincing. I'll say that.
Yeah.
That is whatever it is, but I know in the book
Yeah.
there's definitely some inconsistencies that were like I spotted
Oh.
right off the bat, but still very good.
Cool. That's called My Amityville?
My Amityville Horror, yeah. I believe it's like,
Okay.
I think you can watch it on, well, Tubi, I think, has every Amityville movie on it now.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
that one is also on there. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. I'll have to check that out. Okay, this is a long question, but for his final meal, John Wayne Gacy picked KFC chicken, shrimp, and strawberries. For your final meal before being executed, what would you pick?
Probably like tacos. Honestly, like I really like Mexican food a lot.
Who doesn't? Yeah.
Man, like I don't know, or like a Whopper from Burger King. This
Okay.
specifically the Texas Double Whopper, the one with the jalapenos.
That
Maybe
sounds
that.
good.
Yeah.
Anything to drink or like dessert?
I guess the drink I guess I wouldn't be allowed an alcoholic beverage in that scenario. So.
Oh no! You can
Probably.
have whatever you want.
Oh well then, yeah. Well then, definitely just like probably just what did I say was in it? There's a Whopper, and then like probably like a beer. I don't know. Maybe it would make the process feel a little bit more okay. I don't know.
Make it more of a fun experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, final question. Can art go too far?
That's actually a really difficult question, because
Totally.
I mean, obviously you would say as long as someone is not, something's out to hurt somebody, then that would be, but then at the same time, there is, I guess, art that is portrayed through pain, even though I a lot of times that's like some kind of a consensual type of act, like
Sure.
in terms of like when it comes to like for certain types of performance arts. So
Yeah.
oh, that's a difficult question, man.
So maybe it's impossible to answer.
Yeah, I don't know. That's something. Yeah, that would be something to really, really think about, as far as if
Yeah.
it can go too far or not.
I find a lot of people say yes, but kind of based on what you were just saying about how art only goes too far when it is actually harming the people that are making it or harming someone else.
Yes, which does exist.
And I mean, if it's done consensually, then sure, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but that can also be hard to determine in a way if someone is fully consenting to the harm that they're going through. Yeah.
I mean, it does. Of course, that obviously exists, and then there's a certain point where a person stops being an artist and just becomes someone who's exploiting someone for their own benefit, which is more of a predator and not really. They don't really deserve the term artist if that's their mission.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
Yeah. Stuff. I think it's something that is worth asking and thinking about, but I would agree that it's hard to answer, to have a final judgment on,
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I'll leave you to dwell on that, and maybe it will feed into your next project somehow, whether it's the Ataraxia full sequence or the Harvest Brood 2. Either way, I hope you make both films because they both sound phenomenal. So
yeah, man, thanks a lot. Yeah, and I appreciate
thank you so much.
I appreciate you doing this too, like showcasing, filmmakers like me, and that's a cool platform, and yeah, I wish you luck, man.
Yeah,
and,
thank you so much, Joe.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah, for sure. Would love to have you back on after you complete the next film, which one it is, and we can talk about.
Sure.
Okay, so Joe, how did you decide you're going to do Ataraxia full sequence or something, We'll figure that out, yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Joe. It was great talking to you, and yeah, have a great day.
Cool, man, you too. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description